Hi guys, it's Mrs. Hetler here. Today I'm going to be reading Joining the Boston Tea Party, written by Diane Stanley, illustrated by Holly Berry. It was summer and time to visit Grandma. We were so excited. Our parents think we like to go there because we take walks in the woods and make homemade ice cream and pick berries and watch the stars. We do all those things, of course, but there's something else we do with Grandma, something pretty amazing. We travel back in time. It's a thing she does with her magic hat, but you'll see. Hi, Grandma. At last, some excitement. We could hardly wait to have another adventure. First, we had to pick one of our ancestors to visit and change our clothes. It's my turn. I pick him. Ah, yes, Ben Reed. He was your grandfather's great-great-great-grandfather. Grandma went to her trunk and picked out a black hat and 2 frilly caps, knee breeches and stockings, petticoats, and a couple of long dresses. It sure took time to get dressed in the old days. When we were ready, Grandma put on her traveling hat. We all held hands and closed our eyes. Soon, that strange, dizzy feeling came over us, and all of a sudden, we felt very cold. Everybody ready for Boston? Next stop, 1773. Close your eyes. Grab Moose. Not by the tail, please. We opened our eyes, and there we were, standing on a Boston street. No cars, no fast food, and let's just say you could tell that the horses had been there. Just then, a snowball flew past our heads. It hit the brick wall of a butcher shop, barely missing a soldier in a red coat. The soldier was really mad. Temper, temper. Hey, is that George Washington? No, dear, he lives in Virginia. Lots of men wear powdered wigs like that. It's the latest fashion. You little ruffian, lobsterback, go back to England, you dogs, and leave us alone. Traitor, how dare you insult His Majesty's soldiers? The boy who threw the snowball dashed around the corner. Grandma told us to hurry up and follow him. She said it was Ben Reed, and if we ran fast enough, we could catch up with him. We did, and he seemed glad to meet some long-lost relatives. He even invited us to stay at his family's house. I hope your mother won't mind our dropping in like this. Hey, Ben, why is everybody so angry around here? Because the English aren't treating us right, that's why. They think all we're good for is to make them rich. We have to buy their stuff like cloth at a high price, and they won't let us save money by making it ourselves. And then there's the taxes. When the people of Boston complained about them, the king sent those soldiers over here as if we were some conquered enemy. Who is this king, anyway? King George III, dummy. Don't you remember your history? Ben's mother invited us in. A lot of her friends were there, chatting and drinking out of pretty china cups. She poured each of us something from her silver teapot. Only it wasn't tea, it was hot chocolate. She said her club was called the Daughters of Liberty, and they wouldn't drink any more tea until England stopped making them pay taxes on it. But doesn't everybody have to pay taxes? Sure, our elected officials collect taxes right here in Massachusetts. The money is used to pave the streets and pay the police, things that make our lives better. And if we don't like the way they're spending our money, we can vote them out of office. But it's not fair for the English to tax us too. There aren't any representatives from Massachusetts in the Parliament of England. We don't have any say at all on how much tax we have to pay or how the money's spent either. Well, actually, their husbands can vote them out. Women won't get to vote until 1920. After the ladies left, Mrs. Reed asked Ben to show us to our rooms. She thought we might want to rest a while before supper. Excuse me, could you show me where the bathroom is first? You want a bath? I'll send the girl up to your room with some hot water and a basin, but it will take a while to heat the water. No, I don't think he wants a bath. He wants to, well, you know. Oh, you mean the necessary. It's out back. I'll show you. It's an outhouse. There aren't any bathrooms or even running water. Big deal. I always go outside. If you don't count the fact that there wasn't any heat and the rooms were dark and the beds were hard and lumpy, everything was great. Neat, a 4-poster bed. Where's the light switch? No electricity, remember? When it gets dark, they'll light the candles. Brr, I'm going back downstairs to loll in front of the fire. That night at supper, we met the rest of the family. Ben's father is a lawyer, and his brother James is a student at Harvard College, which even back in 1773 was 137 years old. They talked a lot, and dinner was fun, but the conversation was better than the food. Did someone give me a tablecloth by mistake? That's a napkin, silly. Tie it around your neck, like this. Oh, Mother, Indian pudding, my favorite. Try some, dear. It's made from cornmeal, molasses, eggs, milk, and spices. They bake it for about 18 hours in a brick oven. You know, they still do their cooking over a fire in the kitchen hearth. Stoves are still only for warmth. 18 hours, huh? I guess that would account for the texture. I think I'll pass. Anything you want to toss my way? They mostly talked about politics. Mr. Reed told us that for the last 6 years, the British Parliament had been trying to raise money by taxing the American colonies, but the colonists had pitched a fit over it. They stopped going to stores that sold English goods. They wrote complaining letters and held lots of meetings. There were even riots. Finally, Parliament gave up on the taxes, except the one on tea. They kept that one just to make the point that England had the right to tax the colonies. I heard there are 3 English ships down at the harbor, all full of tea. The Sons of Liberty aren't going to let them unload any of it, though. Who are the Sons of Liberty? A group of good citizens who are determined to make the British treat us right. Some of us are ordinary tradesmen, like the silversmith Paul Revere. Others are important men like John Hancock, the richest man in Boston. And then there's my friend and fellow lawyer John Adams and his cousin Sam, who is really our leader. John Adams will someday become the 2nd president of the United States. The next morning, we woke up early. It's hard to sleep with the clatter of cartwheels on cobblestones right outside your window. We got dressed really fast because it was so cold. After breakfast, Ben asked if we would help him put some notices up around town. We said we'd be glad to. Hey, Grandma, what is that pot under the bed for? That's a chamber pot, dear. It's so you won't have to go outside in the middle of the night to use the necessary. Oh, let's hurry. I promised Sam Adams I'd get these up first thing in the morning. What does it say? Everybody seemed interested in our notices. Lots of people said they were coming to the meeting. How much is the tax on tea anyway? 3 pence per pound. 3 pence? Isn't that like 3 cents? It doesn't sound like much. It isn't, but it's a matter of principle. We don't think England has the right to tax us at all. Friends, brethren, countrymen, that worst of plagues, the detested tea, shipped for this port by the East India Company, is now arrived in this harbor. The hour of destruction or manly opposition to the machinations of tyranny stare you in the face. Every friend to his country will be there. Ben said that Sam Adams had a big surprise planned, but he wouldn't tell us what it was. We'd find out later, he said. We could even be a part of it if we wanted. A big surprise? Cool. I don't like the sound of that. Ben was right. The night of December 16th really was something. Thousands of people had gathered at a church called the Old South Meeting House. They were riled up too. We couldn't get close enough to hear all the speeches, but we did hear one man ask the governor, Thomas Hutchinson, to send the tea back to England, but he wouldn't do it. Holy moly, I never saw so many people. Yes, it's quite a crowd. I'd say about 1/3 of the population of Boston is here tonight. Then Sam Adams ended the meeting with one short sentence. Ben said it was a signal. This meeting can do nothing more to save the country. Hurrah for the Mohawks! Boston Harbor is going to be a teapot tonight. Mohawks? Where are we going? Come on, let's hurry. We ran back to Ben's house where he told us what was about to happen. Some patriots were going to disguise themselves as Mohawk Indians and board the 3 ships in the harbor. Then they were going to throw all the tea overboard. We wanted to go too, so he helped us with our disguises. He told us to blacken our faces with soot from the fireplace and gave us feathers for our hair. It was a very bad costume. Liz, you'll need to change into boys' clothes. You can use some of mine. Lenny, take off your neckcloth. Would it hurt your feelings if I said you don't look even remotely like a Mohawk? It doesn't matter. It's just to keep anyone from recognizing us. After all, what we're about to do would be considered treason against the king. Really? What would happen if we got caught? They could put us to death. Yikes! We might not want to mention this to Grandma. When we got to the waterfront, a group of Mohawks was already there. They looked as silly as we did, but we didn't recognize any of them either, so I guess the disguises worked. One of the men divided us into 3 groups and picked a leader for each one. We were assigned to the ship Dartmouth. By the time we boarded, a crowd had gathered at the wharf to cheer us on. I don't see any tea. It's down in the hold. See that man over there? That's the captain of the ship. He's giving the keys to unlock the hold to our Mohawk leader, who shall remain nameless. But isn't the captain upset that we're about to throw all his cargo into the water? Sure, but he's not going to fight this crowd. He and the crew are going down below till it's all over. The tea chests were heavy. To get them up out of the hold, we used the ship's hoisting tackle and ropes. As the chests came up, we hacked them open with axes and dumped the tea over the side. Soon, the whole ship smelled spicy and sweet. Hey, watch that axe. I'm getting out of here. I always thought tea came in little bags. Try not to spill it on the deck. After a couple of hours, our job was finished. The captain got his keys back, and we even swept the tea and wood splinters off the deck. Then we marched off the ship in a double line, our axes over our shoulders, while someone played a tune on a fife. Everybody was in a jolly mood, and the crowd treated us like heroes. They even made up a song about us. Rally Mohawks, bring your axes, tell King George we'll pay no taxes on his foreign tea. That was fun. Yeah, breaking stuff always was your thing. We thought Grandma would be furious when she found out where we'd been, but she wasn't. She said she'd read her history and knew that only one man, a carpenter named John Crane, was hurt at the Boston Tea Party. He was knocked in the head by a winch, but he soon recovered and walked home. Well, my little ones, how did it feel to help start the American Revolution? Is that what we did tonight? Cool. I wonder if I'll be in the history books. Grandma said she thought we'd had enough excitement for one visit. Maybe it was time to head home. We were sorry to leave Ben. We liked him a lot, but we were starting to get a little homesick. Thank you all so much. It was a great visit. Please come back soon. Ben, I never gave you permission to join us tonight. You endangered yourself and our guests. Don't you have an ounce of sense in that head of yours? But Pa, I care about liberty just as much as you do. And besides, nobody got hurt. Really, Mr. Reed, we're fine. It was an experience we'll never forget. That's for sure. So Grandma got out her traveling hat. When we were finally alone, we all held hands and closed our eyes and waited. And suddenly we were at Grandma's house on a perfect summer day. Oh boy, it's nice to be warm again, and I could sure use a double cheeseburger right about now. Make that too. I feel kind of sad. I wish we had something to remember Ben by. Don't worry, dear. You already do. Grandma reminded us that the next day was the 4th of July. She said her garden club had built a float for the parade and we could ride on it. Hooray for liberty! This is great, but the real thing was a lot more fun. Happy birthday, America! I wonder where we'll go next time. Please, let me get over the jet lag first. Author's note. The Sons of Liberty threw 348 chests full of tea into Boston Harbor that night. When King George heard about it, he was furious. The die is cast, he wrote. The colonies must either submit or triumph. As punishment, the British closed the port of Boston and sent 4 regiments from the British Army to keep peace in Massachusetts. Not only did this cause outrage in Boston, it angered the people in all the other colonies. United in their resentment of the British, they began to think of themselves not just as Virginians or New Yorkers, but as Americans. At first, they simply wanted to persuade the English to treat them with fairness, but gradually a new and shocking idea took hold. Independence from England. The rumblings of revolution had begun. On April 19, 1775, in the little Massachusetts towns of Lexington and Concord, the British Army came face to face with the American Minutemen. This ragtag collection of farmers and tradesmen who provided their own weapons, wore no uniforms, and could be ready to fight at a minute's notice managed to drive the professional British soldiers in their snappy red coats all the way back to Boston. Thus began the American Revolutionary War. It was to last for 8 years. On July 4th, 1776, the colonies declared their independence from England. 7 years later, in 1783, the war officially ended. The 13 colonies had become the United States of America.